What is Cafe Mocha? Experts, celebrities.
Hey, this is John Legend.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
I am Ian Levinson.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Tamar Braxton.
Music and features from a woman's perspective. Intriguing conversation. The Swag Award. Espresso. The MC Light Mix. Radio from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
This weekend, Cafe Mocha revisits Ferguson. Plus, we're asking, what is a young black man's life worth? Brad James from Tyler Perry's For Better or Worse and Dr. Alduan Tartt take us inside the mind of young brothers and what we can do as a community to build their confidence and self-worth.
Chaka Khan.
Cafe Mocha's partnered up with GFN TV to bring you live coverage in Ferguson. Just log on to cafemocharadio.com. They've got compelling interviews like this one with Shirlisa Pruitt on what inspired her to create Peacekeepers.
It goes back to imagining Mike Brown as my son. If I didn't do anything about it, if I didn't take this opportunity to make this stand, what will the future look like for my children, my son, my daughter, my grandson, my granddaughter? And it just takes me back to that statement about enough being enough. We go back and forth with the 60s era, dropping the ball on this thing, with keeping the spirit of the movement alive. But I don't want in the next few decades my children feeling like I dropped the ball when at this very moment we have the opportunity to actually make a change, that I did nothing.
Get all the up-to-the-minute coverage on Ferguson by logging on to cafemocharadio.com and checking out GFN TV. On the way, we know him as Todd on For Better or Worse. Brad James is next on Cafe Mocha. It's Cafe Mocha. We are talking about how much is a young black man's life worth. And Lonnie, you want to introduce him?
Well, you know him as Todd on Tyler Perry's For Better or For Worse. You can check him out Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on OWN. Please welcome Brad James. Hey, Brad.
What's going on, ladies? Everybody good?
Everybody's good. What is a young black man's life worth?
I think that's debatable. It really depends on perception and who you're talking about and who you're talking to. If you are a black woman, I would think that a young black man's life is worth a whole lot because it affects you directly. And if you're the child of that young black man or the mother of that young black man, I think it affects you tremendously. But apparently, if you are the justice system or a police officer on the street, it doesn't mean as much.
We're talking to Brad James. He plays Todd on Tyler Perry's For Better or Worse. You know, as women, we have our own issues, but take us inside the mind of a young brother who feels like maybe his life isn't worth a whole lot when you see what, society says about you. Mm-hmm.
It depends on what your environment is, and that's why when I go around and I'm able to talk to the kids in the schools or even the colleges. We talk to them about changing your environment. I just feel like the whole thing, like we've been so desensitized. I remember in that area, I think it was about 91 when the Rodney King beating happened.
Right.
What a big deal it was. Now we see it on a regular basis.
All the
everybody
time.
Has cell phones that can record. And it's like it means less now.
Interesting.
Right.
That is so true, Brad. I mean, we see it all the time, and now it's like, oh, that's terrible. What's on?
We expect it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we expect it. I think the real issue is that those that we're looking that we think should be looking out for us are the ones we're looking out for. And that can make it very difficult. But we don't want to be limited by that, and we don't want to say that that's what we're worth. But that's just what we have to overcome in order to get the basics in order to get the things that we need and to be able to build families and lives and relationships and futures.
It's Cafe Mocha. When we come back, we're going to talk to Brad James about the new season of For Better or For Worse.
It's Cafe Mocha. We've got Brad James on the line. He is Todd on Tyler Perry's For Better or Worse, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. on OWN. Lonnie, take it.
This is one of the premier shows on OWN. What does it feel like to be a part of it?
It's really magical. We really felt like we were part of a movement because we were originally on TBS before we got transferred over to Oprah's network, and so we were part of that first crop. And sometimes when you get to be a part of history, you know it and you see it coming, and it's easy to see when you're working with people like Tyler and Oprah Winfrey, being the household name she is across the world. It's like every time I go back in the studio, it's like family. I've done several films. I've worked on probably 10 different TV shows and done a lot of commercial work. And then to come back to that studio every single time, it's the most fun in the world. And you're just a part of something special. Tell us about your character, Todd. I like to think he's the sensible one on the show, but people tend to disagree with that for some reason. But he has a purpose. He has a voice. Sometimes people doesn't like it. They don't like everything he has to say. But I always say you can't see how much sense a situation makes if everybody's agreeing. What's fun about that? So he brings an alternative view, and I think he's going to make some interesting points this season. You're going to see him go on some adventures this season. A lot of people have been asking about some girls for Todd, including myself, and I've been leaning on the production staff heavily on that. See if we can bring some female action in there. So stay tuned and see how that comes out.
It's Cafe Mocha talking to Brad James. He plays Todd on Tyler Perry's For Better or Worse. We started this discussion talking about sort of the young black man and what his life is worth. Let me ask you this. Coming from a military background, what part did that play in developing your self-worth and self-esteem?
For me, initially, I went into the Marine Corps because I knew there were some things fundamentally that people can tell you, and there's other things you just have to experience. And I wanted to see the world. I needed the chance to really grow up and see things from other perspectives, and to stand on my own 2 feet. I think that individuality, things like that prepared me for a lot of the things that happen later in life. I tell people all the time, you can't appreciate the good unless you've been through the bad. So
I heard that.
I've seen some of everything, and I'm living it and loving it.
For Better or Worse, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. on OWN. Thank you, Brad. And how do people find you?
At Mr. Brad James on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. I get your number after we get off.
Oh,
okay.
my gosh. All right. Thank you. Apologize in advance for Lonnie. Congrats, man. Thanks for joining us.
Congrats to you. Thank you, ladies.
It's Cafe Mocha. Coming up this hour, intervention specialist Dr. Alduan Tartt gives real tips on how to build self-esteem in our young men when society doesn't seem to value them at all. The ladies of Madame Noir ask, did y'all see? And for As It Happens coverage from Ferguson, just go to cafemocharadio.com and check out GRN TV, the world in your image. Yes. It's Cafe Mocha. We've been talking about the worth of a young black man, and we've had all different kinds of perspectives here from a young black man, from a mom, but I like to bring on Dr. Tartt. He's a psychologist, intervention specialist. You can find him at drtartt.com. How do we build a young black man's self-esteem when everything around him says you're going to be dead at 23?
Wow. First of all, we can't be what we can't see. So for boys that don't see successful black men, we have to make sure that we purposely allow them and put them in environments that allow them to see a different option for their future. And that's where the lack of diversity in the hip-hop videos and in the media is hurting our black males. We have to show them positive black males. And then, two, the black males that they see, they have to have a relationship with. We know that we have a lack of fathers in our neighborhood. But instead of saying, well, that's going to do doom us, then we have to transform into allowing men and paying mentors, in my opinion, to mentor boys to show them how to be men. And you know who's doing that, Angelique?
Who?
Churches now.
Right.
Churches are doing something called core groups, where they're bringing kids in groups of 12. And instead of having a youth pastor give them a lecture, they're having them interact with members of the church during church service. 1 on 12, and the boys are loving it.
Okay, well, part 1, Dr. Tartt, is how do we, A, get the boys into church, and then B, how do we get the cool, hip factor? Because, you know, an astronaut is a nerd. A doctor is a nerd.
I am a psychologist.
Yes,
I position myself to the kids as a life coach.
Okay.
Every day I go to school, kids ask how I can be their life coach. Because kids want relationship with men. Mm-hmm. So how do we get the kids in? 1, by the kids that are already in the church, recruiting kids to come and say, hey, it's cool, check it out.
Okay.
Kids come in. And then number 2, kids want relationship. They don't really care what the guy does. They don't care whether he's a school teacher. They don't care whether he's a hip-hop dancer. They don't care whether he's a principal. Boys are begging for relationship. And that's why I think a lot of them are sagging their pants. Mm-hmm. They're saying, hey, say something to me. Help me. This is a sign that I am not doing what I need to do.
All right.
It's because every man's going to say, pull your pants up. But
right.
How many men have relationship with boys where they can just sit down with them once a month, have lunch, and teach them about manhood?
I like it. Talking to Dr. Tartt, you can find him at drtartt.com. That's with 2 T's. On the way, he's going to provide some tips for parents on how to install some self-esteem in their boys. It's Cafe Mocha.
Don't make this what's being talked about on the street, online, and sister to sister is Did Y'all See? On Cafe Mocha.
Did y'all see a young man named Andrew Caldwell who proclaimed that he's not gay no more in the middle of a church ceremony? And he's turned into a viral meme because he was doing the absolute most, I guess. He's not going to wear makeup no more. He's not going to carry purses. And a lot of people are thinking, kind of deliverance happened up in that church that day.
Well, he claims he had been delivered for a while and that he just wanted to come there and testify, to what he had been through. Mm-hmm. I don't like to question what God does, but I will say that, because everyone's path and what they've gone through is different, but I just don't like the idea of him saying that people have messaged him and he's told them, they're like, so how can I not be gay anymore? What worked for you, please don't start passing that around like pray about 35 times.
Right. He already has the book out, so ain't no telling what's going to come off of that.
He's working on it. It's not out yet.
It's coming. He had the book jacket.
I am not gay is what it's called.
Which questions some of the authenticity, because it's like you're trying to capitalize off of that immediately.
Yes. Well, a lot of it seemed very showy. Mm-hmm. It didn't seem 100% sincere, and that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Mm-hmm. People trying to get speaking engagements. Yep. People want to get titles. Mm-hmm. People want to be ordained. So, right. It could be that he's using this to his advantage to move up in the hierarchy of the Church of God in Christ.
Don't play with God, y'all.
Yeah.
That's our perspective, but we want to hear yours. Log on to madamenoir.com and click on Did Y'all See?
That was Did Y'all See? With the ladies of Madame Noir on Cafe Mocha. For more, check out cafemocharadio.com.
It's Cafe Mocha. The topic today, what is a young black man's life worth? I have Dr. Tartt on the line. He's a psychologist, intervention specialist. The question parents must be asking is, well, what are my tips? What do I take away from this? How can I actually instill some self-esteem in my son so he doesn't wind up a statistic? So 3-4 quick tips from Dr. Tartt on what parents can do right now to make a change.
All right, number 1, we have to tell our kids what they're good at. What we don't hear, we don't know we're good at. So the ratio in psychology is 5-to-1. You want to tell your kids 5 positives for every criticism that you have.
Okay.
Number 2, what kids see, they can be. We'll take the reverse. So show them their career. Don't tell them about it. They want to be a doctor. Put them in a doctor's office and allow them to see and touch their career so they can feel it's possible.
Okay.
And then number 3, teach them about the importance of work ethic. The new research shows that The more practice you put at something, the better you can get. Everything we thought we knew about talent is wrong. You can actually manufacture talent. So we can boost our kids' self-esteem by saying, hey, if you work hard at this, at being an entrepreneur, you can be it. And when we instill that in our kids, they'll start to get success in school, and they'll feel great about themselves. A young man that's doing well in school, that's making A's and B's, feels better about his future. So give him a snapshot right now that he can succeed at anything by giving him the work ethic, and then he'll feel good about it, and his self-esteem will improve significantly.
All right. DrTartt.com. Thank you so much. You are welcome at any time to talk about anything. Anything else going on right now for you?
Oh, right now I am sitting here in the office doing exactly what we just talked about, teaching moms how to empower their males. So right now that's what's going on, as well as getting ready to launch a speaking tour, but I'll tell you more about that later.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.
God bless. Go back to work now.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. This is the Cafe Mocha Espresso. I'm Angelique. As America waits to see if Mike Brown can get justice and how Ferguson will respond, the St. Louis chapter NAACP president warns this about protests.
Protest has never in itself delivered change. The change came in result of some sort of political action or some action by the courts to actually bring the change to fruition.
NAACP's Adolphus Pruitt tells protesters what their real goal should be.
You may feel you are winning the war because you're able to take over the streets and hold the streets. To win the war, you have to win the hearts and the minds of the masses and move them to where you at, where now you and them are asking for the same sort of change, and that's what moves government, and it will also move corporate America.
GFN TV is live in Ferguson. Can Mike Brown get justice? Log on to cafemocharadio.com to see the action unfold live. That's the Espresso. I'm Angelique.
This is Cafe Mocha. Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. This is the Light Mix. I am MC Light. The ladies have left me to get you in a good mood. So I'm going to take you back, as we usually do during the Light Mix. This is what I call slow and songwriter style. Yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about. Sing along with the Isleys. Come on.
MC Light, the Light Mix is Cafe Mocha. Thanks for joining us to discuss how we can empower young men of color. GRN TV is live on the ground in Ferguson. For live coverage, just go to cafemocharadio.com, click on the GRN TV link. They're getting the story from our perspective. Until next weekend, you can find us everywhere at Cafe Mocha Radio.
Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Westwood One. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. Writer and producer Angelique Perrin. For comments, booking, and more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.